Grant Brisbee joining us right now. So before we get to the Giants then, Grant, can you represent the writers for us and tell us if they're going to look at the end of the season for the Padres and go, hey, that's the real Padres?
Probably.
No. Yeah, see, he already wrote the article.
Snell and Hader too. Or at least one.
Here's the thing. The Giants did something similar last year where they scrambled at the last part of the season and they got to 500. And now all year I get to say, well, they were 500 last year. They were 500. Where at most of the year, you were not thinking of them as a 500 team. So, yeah, it does linger a little bit.
See, he already wrote the article. We know his shtick, especially as normal-sized Giant writers. I get it. I like your hat, Grant. What's the hat?
This is the Eugene Emeralds. They have a special promotion or day where they're the exploding whales. If you want a really good time, Google Florence, Oregon exploding whales, and you'll get a news clip from the 70s. Can't be missed. No spoilers, but you gotta do that for yourself.
I think my internet service provider would flag that and be like, "What are you looking up right now, you weirdo?"
Definitely, the AI would definitely change all my searches.
Stop that. Okay, so first off, last week I read the article where you said fans should be mad. This is talking about the Giants, but why are they absolutely livid? And what would be your answer to the question that you posed? I read the article, but for people to understand the state of the Giants fan base right now, can you guide us through it?
Sure. It is. It's angry out there. The seas are angry, friends. It's really just this bitterness that comes with what the Giants are doing right now. And you have to look back to what Farhan Zaidi took over in 2019, the offseason of 2018. He takes over a team that has a terrible farm system. And of the best prospects, they're teenagers, right? You have a team that almost lost 100 games. You have a lot of veterans that are going to be unmovable. What is the timeline for that sort of team? Well, okay, you've got 2019 is going to be pretty much a total rebuild. 2020, well, before you knew about the pandemic, you're going to have a little bit more. 2021, maybe you're getting to 500. Maybe you're, 2022, 2023. Those are the years that you have to start introducing those teenage prospects. You have to start putting it out in the field. I don't think this is too radically different of a timeline. I think this kind of aligns with what was reasonable to expect in 2019. The difference being that in 2021, they arrived early and everyone's expectations got reset. And that's the Giants who were expecting going forward. They'd finally caught up to the Dodgers and they were just going to be like the Dodgers 1-2 in the National League West for the foreseeable future. Didn't quite happen like that. That's fine to be a little mad, but livid. I don't quite align with that.
Okay, but we will bury them because we do a lot of hard work behind the scenes, which we could have done about a week ago at this point. There it is. And this is where, for the podcast crowd, I encourage them to watch the show on Stadium or on our YouTube channel right now. So RIP to the 2023 San Francisco Giants, who had a rough month of September. And there's a lot of questions here still to go, but I want to go back to, because I want to ask you about the superstars or the lack thereof, but to the trade deadline. How can you not say what the fuck for a team that literally did nothing? And you can say whatever you want. I mean, this show is full of former ball players. If you literally pick up nobody, what kind of message are you sending to your team about their playoff run?
This is AJ Pollock erasure. They got AJ Pollock for cash considerations.
It was a waiver claim, Grant.
And cash.
Cash. It was cash considerations. They paid for those 6 hitless at bats. If you're talking about a message, you kind of, especially in the rotation, because the Giants were 2-3 days out of every 5 was going to be a bullpen day. And I think they were hoping that Kyle Harrison would come up and be one of the regular starters, which kind of sort of happened. But it was curious. It was very curious to say the least. Now that we know that they were going to absolutely mess the bed in September, hey, they kept all the prospects. Good for them, bully for them. I don't know that there was someone who could have turned this season around. I don't know if I was a big Jordan Montgomery advocate, and he's done pretty well for himself in Texas. I think that would have helped. I don't think that would have helped them contend as of right now. They needed a hitter, and there just weren't any hitters that changed hands at the deadline.
Wait, so you're saying nobody at the trade deadline would have blipped the radar? What if Aaron Judge or Carlos Correa happened to have been on this team? Would that have pushed them over? Because you didn't bring up anything about the lineup. You talked about their starting bullpen pieces all the time.
Yeah, no, they definitely needed another hitter or two or three or four. Look, Carlos Correa didn't have a great season for the Twins, but he would have been an improvement over Brandon Crawford. He would have been an improvement. Even the meager, 700 or whatever OPS he's got would have improved on what the Giants put out there from the shortstop position. Judge, listen, they still think that they had a shot. They really don't think that they were used as the stalking horse. They think that they had a good shot. They put a competitive offer down. I just, again, what the Giants have had to do is build through free agency, which is a terrible way to build a team. You cannot build through free agency. You have to, that's the cherry on top. You have to have that robust organizational strength. And then when you see someone, you go, oh, okay, yeah, that's the perfect missing piece. To do what the Giants have done over the last several years, which is build a rotation entirely through free agency and getting Gossman and Alex Wood and Desclafani and having it work, that's bananas. And it's also unsustainable. What they need to do now is get those hitters, get Luis Matos, get Marco Luciano, get Tyro Estrada in the prime of his career and turn him into something that's a little bit more. Get that. And then you're not as worried about the, hey, we screwed up on Michael Conforto. Oh, man, this didn't work out. This didn't work out. So they need to do better there, but they also can't build a team through free agency. They do need a star, though. And I don't know when they're going to get one, whether internal or external, but it's clear that the fans are hungry for someone to kind of put in a pedestal.
So, Grant, which one is the real Giants? 2021, they beat out the Dodgers, won the division. And then the last 2 years, they've kind of fallen back to where you said was okay. So is Farhan on the hot seat? Was that a blip on the radar? Are we dare say Gabe Kepler's on the hot seat? Like, they have more coaches than any team. They have more resources, I believe, they throw everything into this. Like analytics, platoon, whatever you want to call it. So is it Farhan possibly on the hot seat? Gabe Kepler on the hot seat? Like, who's to blame for 2021 being good and then 2022 and 23 being eh?
The owner of the Giants, Charles Johnson's kid, Greg Johnson, he's said publicly that the Giants they're committed to his idea. They're committed to Kepler for at least one more year. So I'm not sure about hot seat, but they're not on the hot seat. This season was incredibly dull. I would think it would be more Zaidi than Kepler, because Kepler, look, he's managing a team and he's doing platoons and he's doing these things that drives fans up the wall. Like he's going to pinch hit Jock Peterson for J.D. Davis in the fifth inning and do all this hyper matchup stuff. But that's what he's given. That's the clay he's been told to mold. He's been given a flawed roster with a lot of pieces that only work if you use them in certain ways. And I think that the problem isn't necessarily how they're being used, but the pieces themselves. They've overlooked what these players aren't doing right to focus on what they are doing right. A lot of times it's the opposite problem with bad front offices or bad teams. You forget about what players do well, right? And you just ignore that part of it. The Giants kind of have the opposite problem. They'll have one tool player and the four tools just completely negate that one good tool. But the one good tool, hey, it works. And if you platoon and you do this, it works a little bit. That's on Zaidi more than it is Kepler, in my opinion.
And if Buster Posey were still around, is there still a Buster Posey lingering effect of him not being around? Because he came back in 21, they win, he gone. Like
Yachty.
I'm saying like Yachty, because we gave the Cardinals a really hard time for people not picking up the slack for losing Yachty or Molina. to me, I think it's a very similar situation because you're talking about a Hall of Fame catcher, and I think there is a lingering effect there, but you're there more often than I am.
No, listen, if there's one lesson from the shortened season in 2020, it's that you cannot underestimate how or overestimate how important Buster Posey was to the Giants, because he opted out of the season a little bit on the later side to really prepare going forward. And they had Chadwick Trump and they had Tyler Heineman, both rookies, both kind of scraped up from the minor league free agent market. And it was a bad season defensively behind the plate. You don't have a field general. Obviously, they're not giving you the offense. And then he comes back and has close to an MVP kind of year in 2021. Yes, last year it was a big deal that he was gone. You could just feel it with every game. Every game he was gone, and you were missing his defense. You're missing his steadiness. This year's a little bit different insofar that if there's one thing that's going right for the Giants, it's Patrick Bailey. And Patrick Bailey specifically as a defender, specifically as that kind of field general, specifically for his pitch framing is otherworldly. He's leading in all sorts of defensive metrics, even though he didn't come up until the end of May. So yeah, Buster Posey, I'm not going to say that Patrick Bailey's already Buster Posey, but if there's one thing that's gone right for the Giants this year, it's that they found a catcher for the long term.
So Patrick Bailey is like 0 for, what is he, like 1 for like his last 60 or something? I don't know what the number is. I mean, it's listen, he's a young kid. He's never played this much. I get it. Defensively, he's off the charts good. But at some point, you're comparing to Buster Posey. Buster Posey also hit 300 with a lot of big homers. So I get it. But Joey Bart was supposed to be that guy. Joey Bart didn't work out. There's a whole slew of things, but we don't need to talk about that because that's whatever. But here's the thing. You said they need a star. Who the fuck do they go get? Are they going to sign Shohei? They're not going to sign Shohei, surely.
No.
Right? I know Pete Alonso's name's been rumored to get traded there possibly, but do they go make that? Is that big of an upgrade? I mean, I know he hits homers, but his average and all that is not that great. I mean, what can the Giants do? And if you say they're not willing to trade their prospects, who can they possibly sign to be that star? Because they're going to have to go out and trade for it. And you're saying they don't want to give it their prospects, so they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, it's a real tricky situation. I mean, Ohtani's not going to sign. Listen, I will write 732 articles talking about the possibility, and it's going to be really good for business. But they're not going to do it. So, who do they get? I just don't see who is out there. If you don't get Ohtani. It's like Michael Conforto is going to opt out this year because the free agent market is so thin. That's how dire it is. There is no plan B in free agency. I mean, if someone comes up, if Juan Soto comes up because the Padres are doing rebuild number 4.0, I don't think the Giants are adverse to trading prospects. I really, really don't. I think that they would trade. They were going to trade Marco Luciano for Sean Murphy in the offseason, but the A's said no. They preferred the Braves package. So they're not prospect hoarders. They didn't trade him at the deadline because they didn't see the right fit. But they're not sitting there hugging their prospects too close. I just don't see who is out there. Pete Alonso, he pushes the envelope a little bit, and you're talking about a guy who you can sell and put on billboards and say, come watch this, big beefy slugger hit a ball 450 feet. That'll play. I don't know what the Mets would want in exchange for him. I don't know what his market price would be 1 year before free agency, but that would play. That's not a bad idea at all. I don't expect the Giants to get a star for star's sake. I really don't think that they're internally thinking the same way that the fans are thinking, or thinking like the writers are thinking. They're going to make the moves that make the 26-man roster better. They're going to be prudent about it, and they're going to just kind of do their thing as they've always done it.
So they're going to be a large market team running like a small market team. You have to explain to me why the Giants, because you're out there, why would the Giants not be in on Shohei? What am I missing?
Oh, they're going to be in. It's more about Shohei. Trust. They're going to offer him. I mean, 9 figures. They might offer $1 billion. No. They're going to be. They're going to be in all the way. They're going to be one of the teams that is just begging him to come. It's up to Shohei though, and he's a guy that surveyed 30 major league teams, sat down, thought about it, and said, Anaheim, Orange County. That's where I want to be. And no one expected that. Nobody expected that. But he's got his own ideas. He came over when his salary was going to be the major league minimum because I know if I waited a couple years, I'll be a multi-millionaire, but I want to do this now. He's his own cat. And maybe he's got a fascination with something to do with the Giants. The Giants have a very creative plan for their starting pitchers. Extra rest doesn't bother them. They've got openers. They've got bulk innings guys. They've shown that they can be very creative. Maybe that appeals to them, but you can't assume in the offseason that, we'll just go to Costco and pick up the 12 pack of Shohei Ohtani. You just don't go get guys like that. It's got to be a two-way street. And if you're looking at the Giants, there's reasons. Hey, the Giants are cool, playing a cool ballpark, whatever. That you'd have the area, the fan base wrapped around your finger. But what does he actually want? The dude's kind of an enigma, so I have no idea.
Can you imagine Gabe Kepler with Shohei Ohtani and all the crazy shit he could do? He'd be like, go play right. Now come pitch for 2 hitters. Now go to left. Now you're going to play first. You might catch an inning. Now you go back and pitch. Think about Gabe Kepler and how much fun he could have trying to fuck with the other team, putting him in all these different places.
Opening day, he's pinch hitting for himself. Just all of a sudden, Shohei, go up and pinch hit. But it's my spot in the order. It's get the platoon advantage. Turn it around,
Yeah. And Gabe would say it with a deep voice. He'd be like, yeah, Shohei, I've loved how his eccentric personality, and I've used his skin creams, and I think there's a lot of things that we could do with his environment that we bring with a lot of grounding, and he would like petting our puppy that we have in the dugout. Shohei loves dogs.
Well, listen, the service dog, therapy dog in the dugout, that could work. That could bring at least a couple fans to the ballpark. That's merch right there. You're selling stuffies in the dugout store. I don't know. You're onto something. You're hired. You're your coach now.
Hey, think how many pandas and giraffes they sold back when the Giants were rolling. But hey, Speaking of Gabe Kepler, did you see Gabe's shirt last night?
I did. Yes.
He couldn't take his eyes off it.
When he went out to the mound at one point, the sweat was glistening off of his skin-tight dry fit he had on. Only person that could pull that shirt off is Scott Braun. And Scott was mad that he wasn't able to wear that
I was
shirt.
Just saying, I was like, what did he do wrong? He's just
nothing.
He's just living his life.
Listen, I played with Gabe. I love Gabe. But it's just such a Gabe Kepler. Most other managers have oversized hoodies or their jersey, or Torey Lovell and Aaron Boone, do they have on hoodies because it's raining? Gabe would be out there in a short sleeve shirt like Scott Braun wears, super tight, showing off his 8-pack abs, walking to the mound, with his super cool glasses. Gabe is the perfect match for San Francisco.
And he's good for baseball, Grant, because he's a handsome man. He works out. What do you want him to do? Wear the baggiest shirt and pants out there?
No. My mother-in-law, she's kind of into Gabe Kepler. You know what I mean? She's like, that Gabe Kepler. But here's the thing: if you had opinion polls, like political polls, you had approval ratings and whatnot. If you had those for managers, I bet you Gabe Kepler could bump up 10 points in the San Francisco fan base if he would walk differently to the mound to get pitchers. Because when he's doing his thing to get a pitcher and he's chewing his gum and he points, I don't think he knows any other way. But if you're watching it, it's just kind of, as a fan, you're, what is your deal, buddy? Oh my gosh. I've heard it from people on Twitter. It cracks me up, but he's one of one, man. He's got his own vibe.
He did not fit in. He did not fit in Philly. Let's put it that way.
Listen, when you go to his office, I'm sure, Grant, you've been in his office before, and he's got the standing desk, right, with all the bikes on the wall, and he's like, let's go sit over here on the couch. It's calmer. Sit you over on the couch to talk to you. And he's got all these Zen books out, and he's got the shag carpet, and
Candles.
the lighting is a certain level. And he's like, so what do you guys want to talk about? And you're like, your team, Gabe? I don't know.
I don't know.
I get a different vibe. I get a quiet, smoldering intensity. No, he's definitely. But see, I played with him, so I have a little bit. I can kind of when I see him, I'm like, Gabe, come on, dude.
Also, those manager meetings get loose sometimes, which is great. That's my favorite part of the game when you do the manager meetings and half the managers are like, by the way, this whole conversation's off the record.
Right.
Like you'll get
Yeah.
that, you know, AJ.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
We'll suddenly you'll go off and you'll get the real good juice, but they'll be like, none of that makes the air, right? But
right.
I have one more for you. How bad do the Dodgers make the Giants look? Because that's the X factor here too. Is the Giants, like you said, they've been going through this rebuild, and you can do this in either Central Division and play catch up much quicker. The rebuild literally takes shorter in those divisions because most of the rest of the teams are not good. They don't spend much, right? Like Cleveland, I know they kind of went back down again this year, but last year it's like, wait, did this team even like rebuild from that last run? They're already in the playoffs again. In the West, it's a completely different story. Arizona had to go through it for a while. I know the Padres weren't good this year per se, but they still put up a lot of talent. It's not a pushover team. And then the Dodgers are a lock for the playoffs every year.
Yes, it's a major problem because Giants fans are really insecure, always have been about the Dodgers. Even after the 3 titles in 5 years, you have to think about the mentality of a Giants fan where in the 60s, it was always Giants, Dodgers. Occasionally the Cardinals would sneak in there, but the Giants didn't win a World Series. The Dodgers did. You have the 70s where they've got this homegrown core on the infield and they're winning and they're doing all sorts of this impressive stuff. The Giants are playing on turf at Candlestick with Johnny LeMaster. And you have this kind of identity that you build up. The Dodgers win in the 80s. The Giants lose in the World Series in the 80s. The 90s, you're getting through. And it's this psychosis of Giants fans. The Dodgers matter. The Dodgers' success matters. Before the postseason run, before Barry Bonds, one of the most famous home runs in Giants history, San Francisco Giants history, was when Joe Morgan hit a home run on the final day of the season, not to get the Giants into the playoffs, but to knock the Dodgers out of the playoffs. That was one of the biggest home runs in franchise history to that point because it hosed the Dodgers, specifically out of Schadenfreude. Like that's it. And so the Giants fans are weird about it. And the Dodgers are never going to be bad again. They're just good. And they're not good the same way every year. They have pitchers fall into a wheat thresher and they're still good. They have all the legal issues, injuries, all this stuff. We'll just put a new rookie in. Wow, he's good now. Or the rookie stinks. Doesn't matter. We've scored 35 runs. They're good in a way that's hard to parse. And they're always good for a decade. 100 games good. Like on a bad year, this might be one of their worst years. And what are they going to win? Like 97 games, 98, 99? No, they might win 100 again. They're absurd. And so, yeah, that adds to the Giants fan psychosis because it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it is the most consistent franchise in the bigs over the past decade plus by far. So
yeah,
that's the rivalry. It's a tough big bro setting the standard right now.
Yeah. Definitely. Mm-hmm. I have one question. I'm not sure if we're letting you go yet, but I read an article.
Yeah, you can finish here.
I read an article. You wrote an article about taking your glove as an adult to the field. And I felt like the article was kind of wishy-washy, kind of on the fence, bad, on the fence, good. I need solidified answer right here because we don't play on both sides of the fence here. Say it with your
Fair
chest.
enough.
Can an adult bring a glove or mitt, if you only have a catcher's mitt, to the field for a big league baseball game?
Listen, out here in San Francisco, we follow the gospel of Kruk and Kipe. Mike Krukow, Dwayne Kuiper. They determine what is cool and what is not. They're the arbiters of hip. They say, yeah, that you have to bring your glove. That's how I grew up. I think it's okay. I brought a glove as an adult and caught a foul ball. And listen, that baby just made me glow for a year. And if I didn't have a mitt or didn't have a glove, I would have futzed it up. And so, I'm in. I don't care. Live your own life. Don't let other people tell you it's not cool. But also, I've been a dork for 45 years. So it's a little bit easier for me to swallow.
Dorks rule the world, by the way.
Yeah. Look at me. I'm living in this palace.
I didn't say dorks were rich. I said dorks rule the world.
Fair enough.
We've got Bay Area superstar Ratty Telez joining us soon. We can ask him. I'm sure he'll be making fun of people bringing gloves to the game.
That's fine. I'll ask him, but
dude, just catch it with your bare hands.
Stop.
What do we need a glove for?
Stop. That's not true. Nobody's catching.
Why didn't you catch with your bare hands, AJ?
Yeah.
Well, because I wasn't 400 feet from home plate. There was guys I could have caught Mark Burley barehanded.
Someone clip that. Grant, thank you for coming on and messing around.
Wait,
with us
hold on,
15
wait, Grant.
minutes. Okay,
Do you remember
here
when
we go.
Kratz? Do you remember when Kratz played for the Giants?
Absolutely. I'm a Giants backup catcherologist. So I know Yamid Had and Eliezer Alfonso, Eliezer Alfonso. I know them all.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a good name.
Also, the Athletics Power Rankings, which I think Grant sometimes is a part of, right? Don't you write some of those? Yep.
Yeah,
With
I do
Nesbitt?
the AL West and the NL West.
There you go, because I read that every week, and I know it gets a ton of clicks. And Nesbitt throws Kratz's name in there every once in a while, and it was in there a week or two ago. No big deal.
Whoops. Mike Trout, Ken Griffey Jr., Mickey
Eric
Mantle, Eric Kratz.
It's real. That's not even a joke. It's in there for our fan base. We talked about it a little bit on Friday. Grant, thanks for doing everything that you do and joining us. And you can read his articles in The Athletic. We'll post his Twitter on our Twitter, and also does a great job each week with the roundtable heads on his pod. Grant, good to talk to you, man.
You got it. Thanks for having me on.